We start today with massive news on the vaccine front. The FDA has fully approved of PFIZER's COVID-19 vaccine. This makes it the nation's first vaccine to move beyond emergency use authorization. The FDA says the vaccine has been approved for those ages 16 and older. Health officials have said they hope this move will get more people to roll up their sleeves and get vaccinated. It could also lead more businesses and schools to mandate vaccines. The vaccine will still be available under emergency use authorization for adolescents between the ages of 12 and 15, as well as those in a third dose, certain immunocompromised individuals. And meantime, restaurants in Puerto Rico, as ordered by Governor Pedro Pierluisi, are now asking customers to show proof of their vaccine to enter. Our Christian Ramos has a story.
Vaccination is now mandatory here in Puerto Rico for almost everything, including restaurants. And those operators who refuses to ask their clients for the COVID-19 vaccination card will have to limit their capacity to a 50%.
We have been operating ever since there was a limit on seating well beyond the below the 75% of occupation. And that includes, that 75% includes in our case, everything that is outside, which really does not count for the formula. So truthfully, we operate under that amount prior to this mandate and now after the mandate as well. So we have not reduced to the 50%. Therefore, we will be asking for the, the proof of vaccination as it has been mandated.
Right now, we are now asking just for the vaccine card or the PCR test. Yeah, right now, 72 hours, preview. We are determining that we need to keep, our capacity on full right now after COVID and after all the situations that we are having in the country. Is just the best option for us.
Although restaurants are allowed to operate at full capacity with vaccination evidence, some restaurants are foreseen to take additional safety measures to ensure a healthy environment for clients and employees.
Other things that I may try in the coming time, depending to see or depending on how it evolutions, the entire thing, may be restricting the time and use of the tables to like a certain amount of time, or restricting the amount of the size of the tables on my initiative, like, well, we're not taking groups of 6. I've not instituted that yet. I'm just saying possibilities of things that I may or may not use as we go along.
Almost every restaurant here in the metropolitan area of Puerto Rico is going to ask for the vaccine certification to avoid another economic impact to their operations. Reporting from San Juan, Puerto Rico, Christian Ramos.
All right, thanks, Christian. Well, meantime, Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, has hinted at making COVID vaccines mandatory for students over the age of 12. The Prime Minister says if the vaccinated student population does not reach ideal herd immunity levels by September, the government may have to intervene. He said Trinidad and Tobago has access to the PFIZER vaccine, the only vaccine approved for children. Rowley pleaded with parents and guardians to get their children vaccinated, pointing out that in other countries, children are being hospitalized in the ICU with COVID-19. But even as the Prime Minister continues to urge parents to do what is right to protect their children, he said government may have to take measures to ensure enough students are getting the vaccine.
At the end of the period that we've set, which is mid-September, we look back on it and we see only a population of vaccinated students which is well below the herd immunity level of 60 or 70%, then the government will have to act. So far, we've left it up to the responsibility of parents to be reasonable, to be understanding, to be caring, and to be responsible. And if it gets to that, the government will have no difficulty in intervening on the children's behalf, as we've done with measles, with mumps, with other aspects of healthcare, where the children can make the decision for themselves. We will not do this lightly, but if we have to do that, we'll do it.
And as more cruise ships set sail, the CDC is updating its guidance. The CDC says people who may be at risk for severe illness from COVID-19 should not go on a cruise, regardless of their vaccination status. The agency says the chance of getting COVID-19 on cruise ships is high, and outbreaks have been reported. That means people with underlying medical conditions, pregnant women, or the elderly should avoid cruises, even if they're vaccinated. The CDC also recommends cruisers get tested 1 to 3 days before and 3 to 5 days after the trip, regardless of your vaccination status. The agency warns that people who are not fully vaccinated should not go on a cruise, but if they do, they should self-isolate and quarantine for 7 days after travel and get tested. And continuing our coverage on the cruise industry, a 77-year-old woman has now died from COVID-19 after testing positive while sailing on a Carnival cruise to Belize, marking the first reported death since cruises restarted in the Caribbean and the United States back in June. And we are well into hurricane season, and at the same time, wildfires continue to rage in the western half of the mainland. But as our One Caribbean News' Emily Matson reports, there are ways to protect homes before a disaster strikes.
As we know here in the Caribbean, hurricane force winds can rip a home apart. Researchers at the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety set up a massive lab to run this test. Last year's Atlantic hurricane season saw a record 30 named storms, including Hurricane Sally, which led to $60 billion in damage. But Matt Fettner's Orange Beach, Alabama home was mostly unscathed.
Standing in my front yard, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new roofs in the cul-de-sac we live in. Ours is the only roof that made it through that storm.
His roof is fortified. The shingles are secured with special nails, and underneath there's an extra water barrier. The IBHS says its fortified roof standard, seen here on the right, is now on some 14,000 homes nationwide.
It's as if Mother Nature, through climate change, has busted through the front door of American families.
IBHS President and CEO Roy White says homeowners threatened by wildfires can also take action. This demonstration shows embers hitting a house. The right has a 5-foot gravel bed. The other, with wood mulch, ignites, spreading flames to the wood shingle siding. In Northern California's Marin County, inspectors go door to door looking for hazards like this juniper plant next to the house.
Juniper in general is just flammable. It goes up like a torch.
IBHS found clearing vegetation can double a home's chance of surviving a fire. So how should homeowners landscape around their homes?
For 5 feet all the way around, it should be non-combustible.
Simple steps that can save a home from disaster. Emily Matson, One Caribbean News.
And the U.S. government says there were 22 weather and climate-related disasters last year, which caused at least $1 billion in damage.